I had to cut out early. I had to go to an eye doctor
Well, that's a good
once a
reason.
year. I go get
It's a
my,
good reason to go.
yeah.
So, how's your eyes? You getting new
Yeah.
glasses? You're gonna have to get new
Yeah,
glasses now.
I already got them. Yeah,
All
no,
right.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm using that global mapper. You know.
Are you using it more and more? Good. Are you probably?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
hoping you're using it way more than I do. I just use it to deal with the LiDAR stuff. There are some things I have been working with it a little bit more, but it's still really only to deal with the LiDAR points, the processing the LiDAR and stuff like that. It's powerful. It's a powerful software, and it probably does a whole bunch of stuff. Well, I know it does a whole bunch of stuff that I will never have a reason to use, really. But
yeah.
from an engineering standpoint, that is something that you should be using.
Well, I use it to generate topographic contours,
Yeah.
and I get tins out of it, and
Mhm.
they're pretty good. I mean, I
Lost JN.
can you hear me now?
There you go. I got you now.
You're cutting in and out.
Who is me or you?
You,
All right, let me see if it. Let me
yeah,
do.
yeah, right
Let me,
now.
let me just. I'm checking my. I'm checking my wireless right now. Everything looks fine. Yeah, everything looks fine, but we'll see. We'll see how time goes on. So
Yeah, I don't know.
where's the other smaller? That just in case. What's up, Deb?
Same old, same old.
Same old, same old. So anything new happened since the last time I saw you?
But I'm gonna check my emails.
Deb and I were at the planning board meeting just before this. So it's kind of funny. Oh, all right. Everybody else knows we got Mr. Baker and Mr. Baker Jr. and Mr. Galley don't have to be here. Because the only theory that I did talk to Galvin, the only people that are voting on this are Mr. Tansey, myself, and Mr. Baker Senior. So if they're not here, they're not here. I'm not going to worry about it.
We need Mr. Baker Senior.
We need Mr. Baker Senior. So, oh, Steve's showing up. Nice. Let me make a phone call here. Just gonna put myself on mute for a second. I just want to call Baker Senior just to make
Yep.
sure. All right. He says he's on his way. So I'll give him the benefit. Hey, Steve, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I went to see it. Like I said, I went to see the discussion. I don't know how much there is, but I wanted to see this.
No, I dig it. I understand. And I believe was that Mr. Baker Jr. Even you showed up. That's awesome.
Even me.
And Mr. Baker Sr., he showed up too. Perfect.
I still got a minute.
I still got a minute. With that, I have 8 o'clock. So, 8 o'clock p.m. Welcome everybody to the March 25th, 2025 edition of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals. All members are participating remotely. That would be Mr. Greg Tansey. That would be myself, Rob Rosa. That would be Mr. Stephen Galley. That would be Mr. Bob Baker Jr. and Mr. Robert Baker. We call him Senior. And just so everybody's clear, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed. So, with that, I would entertain a motion to open the public meeting.
So moved.
I got a so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
There's a second. Roll call. Mr. Tansey?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Baker Sr.?
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.?
Yes.
And Mr. Galley?
Yes.
All right. Meeting is open. Again, I'd like to thank both Mr. Galley and Mr. Baker Jr. for showing up tonight. You didn't have to, and that just shows dedication, and I appreciate that, and I thank you both.
You're quite welcome, Mr. Chairman.
So, with that said, I'm going to read the advertisement. 8 o'clock p.m. Shingle Mill LLC discussion and proposed vote request for determination of insubstantial change to the modified decision of the Board of Appeals of Comprehensive Permit under 760 CMR.56.0511. Discussion and proposed vote to approve a request by attorney, remind me, Tamaya D.
You're
Tavirison.
muted.
Tanya Trevison. Yep.
Tanya. Oh, there's a, I apologize. So there's a spelling. Tanya Treverson, Tanya D. Treverson, Maroni Shaughnessy, and Udi LLC. Nice. Number one, to effectuate a de minimis amendment to the modified decision filed September 11, 2024 by expressly granting a waiver from section 407-3 of the conservation bylaw. So, Tanya, we've got your letter. I mean, if you'd like to go over it, we can go over it, but I did, we heard from Bob Galvin. The big reason why we continued this is because he knows more than we do. So what I did was I reached out to Bob. He expressed that he does not feel that this is a substantial change. It is a de minimis change. And what he did was he supplied the board, which I emailed to you guys just recently, a motion that he wrote that he would like read. So without further ado, and before I go any further, board members, are you good with understanding this at this point? And do we know what we're talking about? Do we remember what we're talking about? Yes, we know exactly what we're talking about, the de minimis change. Because when I read this motion, you're probably gonna understand. And this is Bob Galvin's words. And I'm gonna make this motion. I move that the board grant approval to the applicant's request dated March 10th, 2025, to modify the terms and conditions of the board's modified comprehensive permit dated as insubstantial changes to the comprehensive permit pursuant to 760 CMR 56.0511 by allowing in part the waiver of sections 407-5 and 407-3 of the bylaw in order to accommodate the Colby Street connection, sewer connection, and the incidental work associated therewith, the construction and maintenance thereof, and to retain these bylaw provisions in all other respects to any other areas of the project. That's the motion that he made. Before I ask for a second, Tanya, does that work for you?
Could you just read that last portion of the sentence? Because I want to make sure the Colby Street sewer connection, the proposed expanded parking area, and the retaining wall, which aren't specifically referenced in that motion, are included.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree. I'm going to read the whole thing one more time, because just to make sure that all the board members, and there are other people that are listening, that they understand and hear it too.
Yep.
So the motion, a repeat of what I just read, is I move that the board grant approval to the applicant's request dated March 10th, 2025 to modify the terms and conditions of the board's modified comprehensive permit dated as insubstantial changes to the comprehensive permit pursuant to 760 CMR 56.0511 by allowing in part the waiver of sections 407-5 and 407-3 of the bylaw. Here we go. In order to accommodate the Colby Street connection and the incidental work associated therewith, the construction and maintenance thereof, and to retain these bylaw provisions in all other aspects to the other areas of the project. I hear what you're saying, Tanya. I hear what you're saying. But in the grand scheme of things, does that last sentence cover it? Because I know we're talking about the new parking.
Right. So the new expanded parking area and the retaining wall, I don't believe were part of the Colby Street sewer connection. They were separate.
It was separate. It did, you know, one didn't cause the other.
Right.
But it's something that myself, Mr. Tanzi, and Mr. Baker Sr., and the other board members, we did see, we pointed it out. And in our mediation, we did point this out when we were talking about it. We
Mhm.
understand where it's coming from. We understand why it happened. Were you privy to the conservation meeting? Because
No.
I'm assuming, okay. Was there a conservation meeting that reestablished the wetland line out there yet?
That I don't know. I just know that they had an issue with the provision of section 407-3 of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw not being expressly waived by the Board of Appeal. That's the only thing that I'm aware of.
And the reason why, and this is why we were kind of like a little bit nervous about it. The reason
Mhm.
why is because it was a partial waiver of both -5 and a partial waiver of -3. The way that you're wording it, it sounds like you're looking for a total waiver. And I don't think we can do that. And I was specific with Bob on that, and he said that, and he looked at it, and that's why he's saying by allowing in part the waiver of sections 705 and 703.
407, I'm
He-
sorry, 407-3 and 407-5, right?
Yeah, 407-5 and 407-3. Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
And again, he is specifically talking about accommodating the Colby Street connection. And the incidental, and the other thing that we can do, I mean, again, he's not, board members, he is not stating, or he did not state that this was, a big deal at all. He felt that this was de minimis, and he read everything on there. The only other thing that I could add to this motion is, and really, again, it's really only the addition of the increased parking lot, correct?
And the
Um,
retaining wall, yeah.
And
Oh.
yeah, and the retaining wall that retains said parking, correct?
Right. So the applicant would be fine with the waiver of section 407-3 of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Again, for the board's edification, that mandates 100-foot buffer from a protected resource area, because these project elements, the Colby Street sewer connection, the proposed expanded parking area, and the proposed retaining wall would all be located within that 100 feet of a vernal pool depression. So that's why we're looking for the waiver for that piece, which we had agreed to before, but which Attorney Galvin and I were remiss in not including in the modified decision as issued.
All right, so basically through the mediation, we'd already said that was okay. There
Mhm.
was some verbiage that got taken out. If based on the motion that Attorney Galvin wrote, what would you want added in there? Just a mention of the expanded parking area and the retaining wall?
Retaining wall, yes, correct. So
Okay.
those 3 items could be included within that waiver of section 407-3.
Partial waiver.
Partial waiver. Mhm.
Okay, that's it. That was my big thing, because the way that your request came, it made it feel like you were looking for a full waiver of the whole thing, but we only did, based on everything, we've only granted a partial on both.
Mhm.
So as long as that's all happy, board members, I'm gonna read this one more time. I'm gonna add in a certain portion, and then we can talk about this, before there's a second or anything like that. Again, here we go. I move that the board grant approval to the applicant's request dated March 10th, 2025 to modify the terms and conditions of the board's modified comprehensive permit dated as insubstantial changes to the comprehensive permit pursuant to 760 CMR 56.0511 by allowing in part the waiver of sections 407-5 and 407-3 of the bylaw in order to accommodate the Colby Street sewer connection, the expanded parking area, and the retaining wall as shown on documents reviewed by the zoning board members during mediation. And the incidental work associated therewith the construction and maintenance thereof, and to retain these bylaw provisions in all other respects to any other areas of the project. Mr. Baker Jr.,
Sir,
how's that work? Does that,
so just to be clear, the only
Yes.
language that you added that differs from what Bob prepared was the reference to the parking area and the retaining wall?
that's it? And I'm hoping that by incorporating the words, the incidental work associated therewith the construction and maintenance thereof
Okay.
covers all three aspects that the applicant is looking to cover.
On its face, it sounds good. The only thing I'm curious about, knowing
Please.
how thorough and meticulous Bob is
Mhm.
why he didn't include the parking lot and retaining wall language. And we don't know because he's not here, but
I honestly, again, I went over it with him. He knows that it's in there. Again, I know he's meticulous too. But again, based on the mediation, we did allow this. Steve, what's going on, man?
I was just thinking, the reason why he omitted it was because he thought that allowing the de minimis change was a method to clear the way for those works to be done, for the parking and the retaining wall. I thought that was the obstruction. He needed that partial waiver that they're requesting us to approve to let that happen. Not that we were
Yeah.
stopping it from happening. This was the obstacle to it happening fully within the spirit of the agreement and the spirit of the approval.
It's
But
possible.
if the ultimate purpose was to make way for the wall and the parking area, that
Yeah.
would have been included in the motion. Or should have been.
I agree. No, I absolutely agree. And again, this is based on my conversation, which technically is hearsay at this point. But based on my conversation, I think he's okay with this. That was very much the conversation that I was having with him. Are you okay with this? He seems to be okay with it being considered de minimis. So in the grand scheme of things, I stand by my motion. Again, as long as it covers everything that we need to look at, as long as it is classified as the partial waiver, because that's all that we did grant was partial waivers on both. And as long as it's only referencing, like I said, the three things: the Colby Street connection, the expanded parking area, and the retaining wall, as shown in review documents that the applicant provided to us during mediation. Which I know we looked at, I know we had issues with, but again, those weren't even the finals. Even if they gave us something where the Conservation Commission approved the wetland line, because I don't remember who it was, but it was either Mr. Baker Jr. or it was Mr. Galley. Maybe actually it was not me and it was not Greg that pointed out that the wetland line looked wrong. So one of us pointed it out that the wetland line looked wrong. That's when it came out that it was never certified by the wetland, by the Conservation Commission or by their agent. But through other conversation, we found out that they were going to have to go and redefine everything anyway. So in the grand scheme of things, it's all going to come down to that final set of plans that has to go to building department for review between Tom and Pat Brennan. And in the end, probably us too, saying that's really what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to, is all that work in harmony with the decision? And it's probably going to be. I have no idea what's going on with the wetland line at this point, but it was all. I think that was the scenario. And again, it's all the section 3 was and Tanya, please remind me, section 3 was the 100. Is that what that was?
Yes. 407-3 of the Wetlands Protection Bylaw provides for the 100-foot buffer, and 407-5 provides for the 25-foot. No touchstone,
And
sorry.
we
Yep.
we gave them the partial waiver where, where it came down to it, so. Again, I have a motion on the floor. I will wait for a second. So there you go. So I got Mr. Tanzi and I've got Mr. Baker. So if one of the two of you want a second, I need to hear it now. If not, I need to hear some other motion.
Well, what I would like to do is entertain a motion to see the plan and see where it is at its latest development and how this minor modification affects the plan so that we can physically understand to the extent of how minor this is. I'm still a little bit uncomfortable about the wetland line because I remember with the retaining wall, with the revised parking lot, they just moved the line out of the parking area. And then it came about that they didn't have it confirmed. I mean, that was just them indiscriminately moving the wetland line.
Mhm.
And it's been quite, that's just something that's just quite typical of this whole process that got dragged out for years. It wasn't just the wetland line, it was the tributaries, it was the zone A around the reservoir. They wouldn't put it on the plan. We were pulling teeth, and it's just I want to see the wetland line confirmed, and I want to see if they're filling the wetland. If they fill this wetland, they have to replicate, and I want to see how this modification impacts the design. That way I can get a visual on what we're doing, and that will keep them honest with that wetland line. And, if it's, it should be self-evident whether it's de minimis or not. But I think we as a board should have a visual so that we understand how the verbiage is impacting the physical elements of the site, of the design.
Tanya, do you have copies of any revised plans that show any of this?
I do not, but I can definitely get some. I would also caution the board, with all due respect to Mr. Tanzi's request. It appears that a lot of what he's requesting would lie within the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction to determine these issues. So if you allow that partial waiver, they will confirm that these lines are correct and complete, because that's within what the Conservation Commission is charged to do.
Given, as Mr. Tanzi cited, this board's experience with this project, I think his request is appropriate, reasonable, and could be described as necessary.
And valid. I mean, it is technically a valid request, and unfortunately, in this situation, when it comes to a 40B, when it comes to the local bylaw, we are the Conservation Commission. So we say that they're subject to it, basically. We say that they're subject to it. So, subject or not subject to it, I think they would end up having the final say when it comes to everything, because we did say that everything has to be yeah. All right. So, and actually, yeah, this is only a meeting, so we don't have to go into deliberation on this. Maybe we do. We should probably close the open portion and go into some deliberation on our end. Does that sound right?
But if we close the open portion, how then do we get additional information that Mr. Tanzi is seeking?
That's the problem, but we're running into a time crunch also.
We can grant them an extension.
We can, but I think we only, technically, we have to answer, I thought we have to. Deb, remind me, we have to have this answer within 20 days, or we just have to hear it within 20 days?
I believe you have to take the vote within 20 days.
Double check that, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Yes.
What if we wound back the clock on this meeting, what we've discussed? And you guys have to obviously make the motion and vote on it. But if you made the motion and voted on the original motion as suggested by Attorney Galvin, you approve that, and then the applicant can come back and say it's not enough. And then Attorney Galvin can review that request and we can make another motion for another de minimis change. Is that ridiculous?
I think it's kind of ridiculous because I'm looking at the law that Galvin he attached a while, not too long ago when this first came to us. Within 20 days, the board shall deter, and Mr. Baker Jr., this is where within 20 days, the board shall determine and notify the applicant whether it deems the change substantial or insubstantial with reference to the factors set forth at 760 CMR 56.074. If the change is determined to be insubstantial, if the board fails to notify the applicant by the end of such 20-day period, the comprehensive permit shall be deemed modified to incorporate the change. That's B. And C, if the change is determined to be substantial, the board shall hold a public hearing within 30 days of its determination and issue a decision within 40 days of termination of the hearing, all as provided in Mass General. Only the changes in the project or aspects of the project affected thereby shall be issued. Okay.
I got another question.
But hold on, before you go there.
Yep.
Mr. Baker Jr. I'm gonna read it one more time. If the change is determined to be substantial, the board shall hold a public hearing within 30 days of its determination and issue a decision within 40 days of termination of the hearing. All is provided in MGL chapter 40B, subsection 21.
And I hate to do this. Could you read the first part again?
The 760 56.0511 changes after issuance of a permit. A, if a comprehensive permit is granted by the board, blah, 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 blah.
Well, when you first read it, you made reference in the same same paragraph to insubstantial versus substantial.
Okay. If the the first letter A is, I'm going to start right from the beginning because this is difficult. Letter A, 760 CMR 560511, changes after issuance of a permit. A, if after a comprehensive permit is granted by the board, including by order of the committee pursuant to 760 CMR 56075, an applicant desires to change the details of its project as approved by the board or the committee, it shall promptly notify the board in writing describing such change. Within 20 days, the board shall determine and notify the applicant whether it deems the change substantial or insubstantial with reference to the factors set forth at 760 CMR 56074.
Okay,
That's
thank
A.
you.
B, if the change is determined to be insubstantial or if the board fails to notify the applicant by the end of such 20-day period, the comprehensive permit shall be deemed modified to incorporate the charge. Or the change rather. That's B. C, if the change is determined to be substantial, the board shall hold a public hearing within 30 days of its determination and issue a decision within 40 days of termination of the hearing. All is provided in MGL chapter 40B, section 21. Only the changes in the project or aspects of the project affected thereby shall be at issue in such hearing. An applicant shall have the right at any time to withdraw its request for a change and to rely on the previously issued comprehensive permit. The decision of the board denying the change or granting it with conditions which make the housing uneconomic may be appealed to the committee pursuant to MGL 40B Section 22. A decision granting the change may be appealed to the Superior Court pursuant to MGL Chapter 40B Section 21 and 40A Chapter Chapter 48 subsection 17. My question to you, Mr. Baker, I think you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
Okay. Now. Any recommendations?
Well, I mean, as you've read it, and as I understand what you've read, a vote either way has to be taken within that 20-day period.
That's number one. Yep.
If the vote is that it is insubstantial, that's it. If the vote is that it is substantial, then you go to the hearing within 30 days and no. When does the clock run on this, Deb?
Sunday, the 30th. So I'm assuming it would be Monday, the 31st.
Yeah, typically if deadline ends on a holiday or a Sunday, it gets kicked over once.
The day after.
Yeah.
So,
But Rob, didn't we open this hearing last week? And
Yeah, 7
continued it
days ago.
tonight.
7 days ago. That's why we're having it again today.
Okay, so, yeah, 20 days.
But I think I'm pretty sure it all comes down to, I was pretty sure that it all came down to, when they actually made the application, but. Tanya, do you understand our hesitance at this point?
I do. I understand it, but again, the applicant's position is it's de minimis. It is in the
Right.
spirit of the agreement that we made.
Mm-hmm.
There are no tricks here. This is just correcting the decision to articulate what was agreed upon.
But in the course of this discussion, and I'm not suggesting anything untoward in your having done so, you added 2 items or 2 elements that
No,
hadn't
those
been-
items were included in the initial letter. They weren't included by Attorney Galvin, but they were included in our initial letter to you.
I phrased that poorly.
Okay.
You added 2 items that in order to take effect would have to be included in whatever motion we voted on tonight.
Correct.
And were we to do that, we would be doing that in the absence of advice of counsel. And I think Mr. Tanzi made a good point, given, as I said, or I think we can, at least the board can have a consensus view on this, the history of the matter. At least Mr. Tanzi and perhaps the other voting members would be more comfortable visualizing the proposed change rather than just 1, voting on it based on verbiage, and 2, based on verbiage that was not in its entirety recommended to us by our counsel.
If I may, Rob,
Please.
through you to Mr. Baker Jr. The last couple of sentences, it says, the construction and maintenance thereof, and to retain these bylaw provisions and all other respects to any other areas of the project. So if they start the project and they find a wetlands problem over towards the Home Depot side, they can just go ahead and change it without coming back to anybody, because they got a waiver for it.
Well, that's because they got a waiver for it, but I think that change, if it's substantially different from what was on the plan, that would be picked up by both Bob and Pat. And they would say that that's a substantial change. And then that would open up a whole new can of worms.
So they could do minor changes, but not
Basically, I know what it's, again, they're specifically talking about both the expanded parking and the retaining wall that we picked up on during mediation. That's what they're talking about.
Right.
And if we're only talking about that, which we had already decided on, again, it's all. Greg, I hear you. And I agree with you. I just know that time-wise, we're under the gun at this point. So it's up to the board. Well, it's up to the three of us to decide at this point. I wish Mr. Galley and Mr. Baker Jr. could vote on this one, but it's up to the three of us at this point, and it's got to be. I don't remember if it has to be unanimous or not, but pretty sure it doesn't have to be. I think it's got to be a majority with this one.
Well, I think that the comments that have been put forth here are very well taken. I think the board has done its due diligence, and we've examined this. But I have to speak my conscience here. I've got concerns with a number of things, one of which has already been stated is, can this minor modification to the regulations be abused or subject in other areas of the site? The other thing is, the moving target element of where that line is. I can tell you right now, on my 30 years of experience in doing this in the private sector, if you had a vernal pool, just a vernal pool, period, that would be something that would be taken very serious by either a zoning board during a comprehensive permit and or the Conservation Commission. If you have a vernal pool that's surrounded by tributaries and is adjacent to or in the proximity of zone A's to a very sensitive receptor, namely our reservoir, all other boards would at least want to see a plan and where this waiver is specifically, and make sure that the current wetland line has been confirmed. I mean, I think right now, as it stands, they're going to have to replicate some of that wetland in that area with the retaining wall, where they just indiscriminately moved the wetland line because they needed extra parking. So, I mean, I'll make a motion to say that this is, not de minimis, and that it is significant and substantial.
So we got the two. So if you're saying that it's substantial, that this board will need to hold a public hearing within 30 days.
Right.
And issue a decision within 40 days. And if we do that, then at this point, we would be requiring to see a plan that shows the Colby Street sewer connection, an official plan that shows the Colby Street sewer connection that shows the expanded parking, the retaining wall, and an approved conservation, an approved wetland line. Because they had to redo the wetland line again. And again, Tanya, you don't know if it's been through any other boards in this town since?
No, I only received notification of this when they had issues with Concom with that particular section. That's all I know.
Okay, so when did you receive this? Well, rough time. When did you receive this?
Probably 2 weeks before I sent you the letter.
Okay, 2 weeks before you sent the letter, you were notified that they were having problems with conservation.
Yep.
So that means they're in conservation at this point.
Yes, they are. Mhm.
Okay, so they are in conservation at this point.
Yes.
So then that tells me that the wetland line's already been flagged, potentially approved. They would have been ANRAD or ORAD or whatever the hell, whatever it is. And then, so all of this should be on a plan that conservation has seen. Yes,
Yes.
it would make sense to, okay,
Yes.
it would make
Mhm.
sense. Okay. So again, I'll rescind my motion.
I'll second Greg's motion.
I got a second on Greg's for all right.
Before you take a vote, could we see if any in the audience wants to say anything?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's plenty of people in here. Mary, I see you shaking your head. What do you want to talk about?
That I was in touch with DEP and they will honor that 100-foot line from that vernal pool, and that vernal pool is right at Colby Street. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to come within 25 feet of that vernal pool. That was at Concom. But if you want, I'll read you what DEP sent me.
You've got more info. Obviously, we're missing some information on this because we
Yep.
didn't even know they were going. We didn't even know they were in Concom at this point. So, if you've got more information, I would love to hear it.
It's from Peter Backhouse of DEP, and he is the wetlands environmental analyst, wetlands, and he said to me, the Wetlands Protection Act extends vernal pool habitat out to within 100 feet of the vernal pool boundary, but only to the extent that the 100 feet is within another jurisdictional area subject to protection under the Act. In other words, the Act generally does not have jurisdiction outside of the boundary of an isolated vernal pool, but this one isn't because there's another one near it and it's in the wetlands, but may have some buffer when the vernal pool is within another jurisdictional area. In these cases, performance standards fall under those of the respective areas subject to protection. The Act does not specify no-build zones like local bylaws, but I have experience with bringing DEP to a vernal pool that changed the direction of the driveway for the skate rinks off of Forest Street. And yeah, they honor the 100-foot buffer. And that's an issue here.
Okay. Mary, have you gone to any of these Concom hearings?
Yes.
Oh, so okay, so you know way more than this board.
Yes,
knows.
and there are people on here that know it too, that have been to the Concom and the recent
Well,
ones.
I'm glad that you all are here. So in the grand scheme of things, Mary, what's the problem here? What are we and not I know what the problem is, but in the grand scheme of things, what is is it the Conservation Commission that's that has a problem here?
Probably not if they honor the 100-foot buffer, but DEP is stepping in and saying, yeah, you got to do that.
Okay, DEP is saying this.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a wetland, they'll honor that 100 feet.
All right. All right.
I can send you the email.
It would be nice to have in the file. I mean, it's not necessarily right. It's not necessary right now. You just read it. So if you want to send it for a file, that would be fine.
Yeah, I will.
Would you mind sending it to me as well, considering it's public record, so I have that
Sure.
for our client?
Um,
Thank you.
You want Rob Rosa to send it over to you? Because I don't have your email address, but he can
Yeah.
send it to you.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
once it gets into us, then it can get to you. Because technically right
Thank
now,
you.
I don't
You
think
can
it gets-
email it to me.
Yeah.
I'll forward it on.
If Mary, if you can do that, that would be
Yes.
phenomenal.
There
All
is
right.
one other issue with that. Peter is the DEP person that took Andrew Poyant's place, who also said the same thing, that when it came to this, it would, everything, the wetlands, everything would come to him. He has since moved on to air quality, but Peter Backhouse is the one that has taken his place. So it's been an issue for a long time. The vernal pool's been an issue for a long time. Same with the Zone A and the wetlands.
This would have been really good if we had some sort of communication with other boards. Nobody even knew it. Nobody on this board even knew that they were within conservation at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And in
Okay.
Boston too, DEP, in terms of the Zone A.
Okay. Still.
The
Okay.
proponent had them out 3 times, and 3 times they told them, no, you can't do this within a Zone A.
Okay.
It involves sewer
Gregor, repeat your
and stormwater.
Gregor, repeat your motion one more time.
My motion was that the board find that it is not de minimis, but that it is a substantial change, and that it would require further investigation of the board through the hearing process.
So I got a motion. Do I have a second?
I already seconded.
Okay, so you already seconded. All right, so we got
Yes,
a
sir.
motion. We got a motion and a second.
Is there
Before
anybody
I,
that wants to talk?
what'd you say?
Anybody else want to talk? I didn't know. if Mary
It's,
was-
again, I can put it back out to the public, but if everybody's gonna echo what Mary Parsons is saying, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's necessary.
I agree.
I mean, Mary knows more than I do about this, so. That's really what it comes down to.
Mhm.
Can anybody of the 3 of us, how did we vote before? It was 2-1, it was 2-1, wasn't it? Or was it all, or were we all in favor of it?
We're all in favor of the original.
We were,
After, when it came back from,
when it came back from appeal, we were all okay with it. But when it first got approved, it was a 2-1, right?
yes, it was,
Who was the opponent?
myself.
That was you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that tells me a 2-1 vote can actually work on this one. If you weren't out, me and Gregor were on. You know, if you were out on, if you voted against it, both Gregor and I voted for it. So that's a 2-1.
The original plans,
The original one,
right,
and it passed.
yeah,
That's telling me a 2-1 can go at this point too.
but they appealed it to,
They appealed some of the conditions, not the
Right.
whole thing, just a couple of the conditions.
and then we had discussions with it. And then the 3 of us voted that to accept the revisions they made
Right.
to it.
The only problem I'm having with this whole thing, the only problem of not agreeing and voting with you guys, the only problem I'm having at this point is that through the modification, through the mediation, we already approved it. We did. We approved it. It's recorded. We've already approved the retaining wall. We've already approved the sewer connection, you know, rerouting the sewer connection. We've already approved all of it.
Yeah, but we,
So-
Mr. Chairman, we approved it subject to these things meeting all applicable regulations.
Right.
And why
And-
are they
and it's-
requesting a waiver now?
That's
They're
the
not.
point.
That they're not, while they're requesting clarification on a waiver that we've already granted. But they are requesting it in specific areas, which that was a part of the mediation. That was a part of the modification that we granted. So that's my only problem that I'm having. We've already said that they can do it. They're just looking for language that would clarify some stuff. If the state says they can't do it, if DEP turns around and says that they can't do it, Mary, that's saying right off the bat that they can't do it. Even if we say that they can, if the state says that they can't, well, that goes again. That's against us anyway. So, if we say that they can, but then the state says that they can't, they're still subject to the state's to state law, and that's still in harmony with it's still in harmony with our decision. So we can grant, so what that tells me and I'm not a lawyer, Mr. Baker Jr. is, but that tells me that we said it was subject to all state laws. If the state turns around and tells them you can't do this, I don't know if that takes us off the hook, but I feel like it does. Mr. Baker Jr.?
Just to clarify your point to Mr. Tanzi, Mr. Chairman, there was a vote to approve the modification, but the matter before you tonight is to modify the modification. So it's not a replication of the vote you already took.
I hear you. Yes, absolutely. No, I agree with that. Steve, what do you got?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but I would like for us to review whatever decision this is supposed to be a de minimis change of, to that paragraph or that portion of it. I'd like us all to be reading the same thing, because I can't find it on the town website to figure out which link is the one that we want to read to review where
It's
this is
included in the letter that I sent to you. There's the portion of the decision, the waiver section is in the letter.
All right, cool. So my thinking is Attorney Galvin read the letter and agreed with it, that it was, say, verbatim quoting. And I just, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, it seems to be pretty tight on what's being asked for and what Bob Galvin's response was, and Attorney Rose's modification to that proposed motion. It seems like it's just about those portions of the plan, the sewer connection and the parking, and allowing the 100-foot waiver for those sections, because there's already a part, I thought, in there that said they had to do a 1-to-1 replacement. So I that's where I'm going with it. I'm not going to continue. I'll just repeat myself.
And I hear you there, and because again, to kind of echo that same sentiment, and it's the board. I'm going to read something that comes from your letter. While the above provisions demonstrate that the board must waive 407-5 and 407-3 of the bylaw for shingle to comply with the board's Colby Street connection requirement, it also contains the following statement. By granting the waivers from local bylaws and regulations specifically listed in the comprehensive permit, it is the intention of this comprehensive permit to permit construction of the development as shown on the final approved plans. Which, if we're talking about, that's what we saw. If in review it, which I don't think it is, if in reviewing the applicant's building permit applications, the building commissioner, inspector determines that any additional waiver for local zoning, wetlands, health regulations is necessary to permit construction to proceed as shown on the approved plans, the building commissioner and inspector shall this is why I'm saying this is, again, I'm just looking at it from the must waive all of -5 and all of -3. I don't think that's the case, but to go back to reasoning that we could apply, see this as de minimis, again, if the state's gonna, if after all of this, the state's gonna tell them no, then they are, then they are gonna have to comply with state law, and that takes us off the hook. If the building inspector turns around and sees this final, and sees the final approved plan set, and between he and Pat Brennan, once they go over everything, they're gonna see the same, they may see the same thing. You know, they may see what we're nervous about. Or not may, but they will see. Because they're gonna look at every single aspect of this. And Pat was privy to this whole conversation about the expanded parking, the wetlands, and the expanded parking, the wetlands, and the Colby Street connection. And in the grand scheme of things, he was okay with it. That's the only reason why we went with this.
And they may have misunderstood. I probably misunderstood what you said, Mr. Chairman. When you were referencing the building inspector.
Yep.
And that portion of the letter you were reading.
Yep.
And my understanding of that, again, it could be an incorrect understanding. If this board passes the motion deeming these changes de minimis, then Mr. Rubel would be bound by that, even if he's in disagreement with what he's looking at.
He would be bound by whatever's in the initial decision, the modified decision,
Right.
and this second modification to the decision. Yeah, he would
So
be
he
bound by it.
really, so as long as whatever the condition he observes is consistent with those three documents.
Yep.
Mr. Rubel would be powerless with any objections he might have.
Not powerless. If he didn't feel that it was in harmony with any of the decision documents, he could basically bounce it right there. So that if he feels that it is not in harmony, then yeah, he can bounce it. But that's also based on a full, complete, 100% completed plan set.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, would the action of the board tonight deeming these changes de minimis eliminate any of Mr. Rubel's authority to raise that objection, since that may fall within the definition of de minimis that would be established tonight?
I believe that if we are agreeing that the impartial waiver of -5 and -3, if we are all still in agreement that it is a partial waiver, then I don't think that takes anything out of him.
Okay.
I don't believe that it does. Everything would still be subject to the decision. And this is one of those things, put it on somebody else. I'm not trying to make this go any further, or to hold this up or anything like that. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of, and Mr. Baker Senior, I'm talking about what you said. We said that they are subject to any and all laws of the state of Massachusetts. And if for some reason DEP turns around and says that, no, you can't do this, that trumps anything that we say anyway. And according to what Mary's telling me, or telling the board, according to what she's saying, that's what they're going to do.
We need to mute somebody.
Yeah, Mary, I think you got your TV on, Mary?
Oh, I've got my speaker on. Yeah, why?
No, I said somebody keeps coming on with a TV in the background and it keeps highlighting to you. I could be wrong.
No, I can shut that off.
There we go. Something went away. So again, what this is coming down to is they have to be subject, regardless of the situation, whether this is de minimis or not. One of the conditions was they had to be subject to. And again, I don't think I think Bob even said we didn't technically have to put this in as a condition, because You can't break state law. So it's in there. It's an understood thing, and it's a condition in our decisions that if the state says they can't do this, then it's on the state. It's not on us. We've already agreed that, yeah, the extended parking, that wall, and the sewer connection that comes around. We've already said that that was approved. We've already agreed to that. And not to minimize anything, but the sewer connection, once it's in, you're never gonna see it. It's under the ground. The only thing you really have to worry about is leaking or anything like that, but that's a whole different ballgame. So just saying, I'm not saying that it's something that absolutely has to be considered, but it is something that is different than putting a building 25 feet away from a vernal pool. So, Steve?
So I think some members' concern is the applicant, quote unquote, getting away with something.
I hear you.
Okay. And I'm wondering is if you approve the de minimis change and you specify the partial approval of the waiver 4073 that was omitted before, and you specify that it regards the sewer connection, the retaining wall, and the parking, is there a way for them to do something that's completely not related to those things? I mean, realistically.
Of course there is. Of course
I mean,
there is.
but I mean, you know, I mean, like anyone can get away with anything at any time in that sense, you know,
Mhm.
but to use that as a shield, like, you know, like we gotcha. Like, I mean,
No, it's not that. I get that. I hear where you're going. I can't see that because they can't use this on another portion of the site. All right. Because what they're
Yeah.
dealing with, what they're most worried about is those three situations. We've already given them the partial waiver on -3 and -5. We've already
Mhm.
given it. It's
Yeah.
just they're looking specifically to include these three that were a part of the modification, but never got specifically added into the modification. So it's clarifying language.
Mhm.
I believe that it's clarifying language. They're not going to be able to use it they're not going to be able to use it anyplace else, because anything else that they try to build, let's just say we don't trust these people, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden they want to try and build something someplace else on the site. When it comes down to the design plan, if it's on the design plan and it's not on the original plans, that's something extra. We didn't know about that. They're gonna bounce them. Now, if it's all of a sudden that's built and it comes out in an as-built plan, that's gonna go all over the place. So regardless of if it's a design or if it's an as-built condition, the applicant is going to be subject to this and is going to be held to the fire for it.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, if it's something that wasn't on the original plans, building department and Pat Brennan are going to bounce it. They're going to say,
Mhm.
you need more relief. If in the end something gets built that shouldn't have gotten built, when it comes to the as-built, they're both going to look at it and go, what is this? And in turn, they're going to be held to the fire. So again, unfortunately, I see both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
See both sides of the coin. So I can't, and again, I'm not trying to lead anybody to the water. You know, we've already approved it. We've technically already approved this. And in the end, if it's DEP that's saying that they can't do it, and DEP is going to stand behind the whole thing, and DEP is going to be the one that shuts this whole thing down, takes it off our plate. We've already approved it.
Yeah.
We've already let it go.
Mr. Chairman, we don't know what they filed with the DEP. We don't know what the DEP saw. Did they show these utilities on that plan? What did they see? If they didn't see critical things, the
They would have had
DEP
to,
will,
Greg. They would have had to, because that's what they're looking for the modification. They're looking to include those things they're looking to include those things in language. They would have had to. Now, if you're telling me that you're worried that they're showing that they're showing the Conservation Commission and DEP something that we did not see, if you're worried about that, then that is not in harmony with everything. If you're worried that they're showing something substantially different than what we've seen, there's a bigger problem there. And I don't think that's the case. I really don't think that's the case. But
well, I'm not convinced that the Conservation Commission or the DEP realizes that they need to replicate, because what they showed us was a line that they just changed so that their parking lot would fit. They just moved the line indiscriminately.
wait a second, are you worried about the replication?
No, I'm worried that they have to do replication.
Right. You said that they did.
But does the DEP know about it? Does Concom know about it? That's what I'm questioning.
I hear you.
I don't know.
I hear you. Tanya?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Please.
I think these allegations of the applicant are unfair, and the plans, when they are final and go before the building inspector and Pat Brennan, all right, they are going to be the same as what we had agreed to in mediation. That's how this works. We're not trying to slide one under you. We're not trying to do anything like that. We're just trying to correct a scrivener's error that Attorney Galvin and I and nobody else caught when this draft of the modified decision was circulated, to include that one section, 407-3, to allow what we had already agreed upon, those three elements would happen. That's it.
Steve?
Is there any way to get Attorney Galvin in this meeting?
I've been trying to text him to see if he can get in here. He is 100% booked. I talked to him earlier, and he said he was going to be in both Norwell and Situate tonight. The only thing that I got from him at this point, the only thing, this is what I got. It's coming in like bits and pieces here. It's on the plan. Need to approve. The plan is approved the plan is approved in the modified comp permit. So he's saying that what they proposed was already approved in the modification. Again, another one, the plan was already approved. So it's already been approved. And I think that we're in a good place. If we say it's okay, if we say it's not if it's okay. If we classify it as de minimis, because we already approved it. If we don't find this as de minimis, then everything that we did approve in the modification, most specifically the sewer, the wall, and the expanded parking, we should never have approved it. Steve?
I didn't want to just speak over you.
No.
I was listening, to Greg Tanzi's comment about DEP and COMCOM and the concern of whether they would miss anything. And I'm just thinking, I'd like to think in general that we would trust them to do their part. So, I mean, I can see the concern, but I mean, generally you got to have faith every once in a while. I mean, because we can't supervise them, that they're doing their part. So I'm not a voting member, but I'm not afraid of them missing it. That's all I wanted to just say. But
No, I understand. I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you. On that note, Mr. Baker, where would your head be at this point?
Which Mr. Baker?
Oh, Mr. Baker Jr.
Right now, you have before you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Tanzi's motion to consider it not de minimis and schedule a hearing. Which motion was seconded? So I think where you are now is to put that motion to a vote.
Okay. I have a motion and I have a second. I'm gonna roll call it at this point. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
So you're again, we're going in, you're saying that it is not de minimis.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Baker Senior?
Yes,
Okay, myself is a no. I do find it to be de minimis and in the spirit of the modification that we did. So as we have that, Tanya, I think we know where this is going at this point. Deb, we'll have that to you by, I don't know. I don't know what your schedule is, but it obviously has to be to her by Sunday, which will end up being Monday, right? Deb,
I'm sorry.
I'm just talking about the decision. You heard what happened, right?
Yes,
Okay, so it carried 2-1, and you're gonna have to put together a decision. I'm assuming that has to be technically by Sunday, but
I don't know that a decision has to be put together. We have to schedule a hearing.
let me just go back to what
That's
Tony
correct.
Galvin said. Change to 30 day. The board shall hold, okay, Tanya. Yep. The board shall hold a public hearing within 30 days. Deb, what's 30 days?
So I would say April 22nd, which is a Tuesday. Check your calendars.
Oh, it says April 2nd,
22nd.
April 22nd.
Because I'm gonna have to publish legal notice.
Yeah, I got nothing. Is Easter Sunday and Monday gonna have any issues? Apparently there's an Easter Monday nowadays. Is that a holiday?
It's Patriots Day, I believe, this year,
Okay.
which I believe is April 21st.
right.
Gregor,
Yeah.
you got
Right.
you got any issue on the 22nd?
No.
Deb, do we have anything else on the 22nd?
No, that would be an extra hearing.
There would be an extra, so it would be there would be an extra hearing for the month.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
And I'm not a
right.
voting member, Mr. Chairman, so I don't need to be there, which is good because I've got a late work commitment.
Okay. I appreciate the heads up. Again, Steve, you don't have to be there either.
Okay.
But you know, showing support, that's awesome. I dig that. Thank you. If you can. And again, just to refresh and the change is determined to be substantial, which it was. The board shall hold a public hearing within 30 days of its determination and issue a decision within 40 days of termination of the public hearing, all as provided in the. Okay. Tanya, can I make a request that we get a copy of these plans that apparently conservation has seen?
Yes,
Okay. If you can get us a copy of that, we can at least see what we're talking about and then figure it out from there.
okay. Should I email those to,
And email them to me.
okay, will do.
Yeah, directly to Deb, that's fine. If you want to tag, I'm only assuming that you CC'd Bob Galvin. The last
Yep.
time you went through? Okay, if you
Yep.
can CC him as well, from there, it'll get disseminated to everybody else.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so other than that, what else we got going on? That was the only thing that was really on as far as I knew. Deb, what else did we have going?
Just, I believe we're
Non-deliberative
gonna be
announcements and scheduling?
yeah, I believe we're gonna be able to continue to meet remotely. The governor just has to sign the bill, is my understanding, which she
Okay.
should be signing like any day now.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
on the governor's docket, it's scheduled to be signed on the 30th.
On the 30th. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm
Yes.
going to sign off. So
No,
thank you.
please,
you.
Tanya, I apologize. I should have said something. Thank you for
Okay.
coming tonight. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Right.
Good night.
good night.
All right, so when's the last date that we were able to do Zoom meetings technically?
Tonight. It's-
Tonight was the last one.
Yes,
All right, but the 31st. So she's supposed to sign it on the 31st. Is that what you said, Mr. Baker, Mr. Baker Jr.?
The way the website's set up, it says it's on her desk and then the date, it just says 3:30. It didn't say specifically that she's signing it then, but I'm assuming that's why it's there. Now,
Okay.
what I don't know, most of the time when legislation is signed, there's a period of time that has to elapse before it goes into effect.
Yep.
Language can be included in the legislation to eliminate that waiting period. And I'm assuming that was done here where they're running so close.
I think that's what they did the
Yeah.
last time. I remember,
sure it
I
is.
remember this conversation last year,
I think they
2 years
did
ago.
waive it.
All right, so that's a good thing. What else you got, Deb?
that's it. So I'm not really sure how to schedule the April 1st hearing.
April 1st.
Yes, which is Union Street deliberations.
Oh, that's the first Tuesday of the month. Okay.
Correct.
Well, April Fools, we're gonna have it on the 2nd. So it's
You didn't want to do that because I asked. We could do it on Wednesday instead of Tuesday.
Can you schedule it subject to?
Well, I was thinking if I post the agenda Thursday,
Yeah.
which I'd have to do, and schedule it for the lecture hall to be live in case she doesn't sign it or it isn't effective right away.
Yeah.
Then if she does sign it and it is effective right away, because what I've heard is it's an extension
Okay.
from March 31st till like the end of June of 2027. Then maybe I can revise the agenda to have it by Zoom, but I don't know if I can do that. I mean, we're set up at the lecture hall. It will be recorded, but it wouldn't be live streamed.
Yeah. And again, live stream doesn't have to happen. That doesn't have to. The recording is always just a nice thing. So see if you can set it up subject to. See if you can set it up for both, but subject to the governor signing the Zoom extension.
Okay,
If you can do it subject to and get a Zoom date, get a Zoom meeting and this, that, the other thing.
okay. Maybe I can set it up like location to be determined. I'll find out. I'll find out.
No, I know it would still end up being a modification because you got to alert the public anyway. You got to tell the public. So if we say it's going to be subject to, you would still have to do a modification and strike out whichever one we're not doing. So either way, it would be like a last minute modification. But I don't know if it would help the modification by saying subject to and then being able to. So at least the general public would have an idea that we don't know where it's going to be. So stay tuned. Whatever works. whatever,
Okay.
whatever
I'll,
works.
I'll find out. I'll take care of it.
What else we got? We got anything else to discuss at this point?
No.
Board members, anything else to discuss at this point?
Nothing at all, sir.
No, thank you.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got a motion to adjourn. I got a second, Mr. Tanzi. Roll call, Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Myself is a yes, Mr. Baker Jr.,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Sr.,
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
No, you already said that,
Yes.
Mr. Galley. Sorry, sir.
Yes.
I was going around in a circle and I didn't stop. I apologize. All right. Thank you everybody for coming. We'll see you next time around.
Good
Thank
night.
you,
Good
everyone.
night.